I hate that this is how the finale is having to go, but long story short, when I recorded all of this live, for some reason that I cannot fathom at this point in time, I just, my mic just was not recording for any of it, which makes me really upset because I did some of the most fun and interesting stuff. Well, I shouldn't say interesting, but like the collector. I did the collector in here. I did the Coliseum. Well, some of the Coliseum. I fought Nightmare King Grim, or attempted to. I went to the Pleasure House. So many fun things I did this episode. And all of those first reactions are just gone. I can barely remember anything about them. Okay, maybe not barely remember anything about them, but like those live genuine reactions are missing. But I'm not letting the series go unfinished. So let's get into this. The very first thing I do during this session, which lasted about 2.5 hours, a little under that, give or take any breaks that I might have taken and cut out completely. The first thing I do is actually what I mentioned a little bit not too long ago, go fight Nightmare King Grim. And it goes about as well as you would expect. I ultimately decide that beating up Nightmare King Grim for a few dozen hours just to get a slightly stronger Grim Child that I'm never going to use isn't worth it. I'm sure, like, it couldn't be the worst thing to have, but time was precious in this archipelago. I wanted to get it over with so that way we could start the next one, but that's okay. I will someday fight Nightmare King Grim. That's just how I am. I don't know when the next time I'm going to play Hollow Knight is. Eventually, I want to go through and properly look at all the lore because it seems very interesting. I still have no idea where the hell the infection actually comes from or why it exists. But we'll get there someday. That day is not today. And I also want to see the ending to the Grim stuff proper. And all the stories. I want to see the ending of all the stories proper. After losing to Grim and deciding that's not worth it, my next goal was to head to the Coliseum, because I figured there'd probably be something interesting there, some fun challenges, maybe some cool boss, and I was right. I'm not going to bother showing the entire Coliseum, because most of that would have been better live, or if assuming I even said anything during that point, I don't know how much I would have been focusing. I'm sure I would have said some things about some of the enemies, some of the layouts, whatever. But I am going to show this because I think it's very fun, and even though most of you watching this will probably have already seen it, just assume a man's laughing hysterically during this part. The one thing I will say is that I'm very sad I don't get to see the Grey Prince Zote fight during this archipelago. I could never figure out how to get that check to work. I went back to Dirtmouth, I talked to Bretta, I read every single precept of Zote's, but nothing ever happened. I don't know how to fight him, I don't know what went wrong. My only assumption is that we would have had to have gone through more of the Coliseum, but I genuinely don't know, and honestly, part of me doesn't really care that much right now. Again, it will be something I do eventually. Maybe he won't be a joke, maybe he will be a joke. I don't know. Who is Zote? What is he? I don't know. All I know is that apparently cloth dies if you go fight the traitor lord or whatever. which is sad. But I never do that. That was something I was told on Discord, which makes me sad. I liked Cloth. Cloth was cool. What do I do next? I did not think I went and did that already, but we do that. It's time for us to head off towards the end of the game already, sort of, kind of. We won't be finishing it right away. We talked to Hornet, because that's the thing to do. We are locked in to the siblings route, I believe, or Radiance, depending on which one we do. Although I don't even know if there is one that isn't sibling. I don't know. There was a second Hornet fight somewhere that I never end up doing, which is probably for the best. Although I am sad we don't get more lore from that in the Hunter's Journal. But we go fight the Hollow Knight. Amazing. Title drop right there, end credits. I don't remember off the top of my head how many attempts it takes to actually beat the Hollow Knight. But I will say, I don't think it was the hardest thing I've done so far. I would definitely say... I mean, obviously Nightmare King Grimm's going to be harder. But I don't... Off the top of my head, I don't know which bosses, if any, I would say were actually harder. Because I know I probably skipped some of the harder boss fights. Like, the Lost Kin probably would be way harder than this was. But it wasn't easy, obviously. It's just another case of learn the attacks, you'll figure it out eventually. But here's the thing. I am playing blind, so I don't know how to get each ending. But I set my goal as Radiance, because that's kind of like the true or best ending, whatever you want to look at. I didn't know how to get it. I didn't know that there was a special thing I had to do during the fight to get it. So when Hornet comes in and locks him down, I just go ahead and wail away at the Hollow Knight after I get done being flabbergasted at what's going on. Because Hornet said that whatever. They weren't going to interfere with the fight or something, but what they actually meant was that they weren't going to die, which is a load of bullshit, because they do die. But then we just beat up the Hollow Knight. It doesn't take that much longer. And so we get the siblings ending, which means I didn't beat the Archipelago. Awesome. I realize I go back into the fight and I realize, you know, I probably know what I'm doing. I probably know what I need to do. So when Hornet comes back in, I go ahead and swipe with the Dream Wielder, I think, maybe. I should probably go check to make sure I actually did that right away. Yes, okay, I do figure it out right away that you have to Dream Nail Mr. Hollow Knight Man to go fight Radiance, which I'm assuming is like the source of the infection and also maybe God, I don't know. It's weird. I don't know the lore. I want to learn the lore. This is something for another day that probably won't end up happening on the channel, but I'm sure when I do experience everything, it will be wonderful. But where do I go from here? Because I'll be frank, I cannot be Radiance. Technically. Honestly, the fight doesn't take me that long to get down pat. I fought enough bosses at this point where I genuinely think it's hard, but not impossible, if that makes sense. I can see the patterns, I can get them down pat, I know what I need to do, but I'm missing one very key component. So after a few attempts, I looked up online how to dodge this one attack. Most of the attacks are fine. They're hard to dodge, some of them, but with the toolset I have, they aren't a problem. The one attack that has been giving me trouble is this one giant laser attack from the ceiling. I try to outrun it, I can kind of outrun it, but it also just keeps going, and I don't want to die to the pit. So I take the hit most of the time. Because the one key component I'm missing is the Shade Cloak, which is how you're supposed to dodge this attack, and I'm gonna be honest, when I learned about what the Shade Cloak does, I thought it was the most overpowered broken piece of garbage ever. Why is this in the game? This doesn't need to be in the game, but it is. And honestly, I'm okay with it because it helps me in this part. I need to go get it. I don't remember where it is, though, in editing here, though. I don't find that. It appears as though it was locked behind the hardest boss in the entire game of our Blasphemous player, which I'm sure was fun, but they eventually just beat the game and I got it. I just had to wait. But before we go over the Radiance fights, because I'm probably just going to put them in here unedited because I think that's the most fair. At least the actual Radiance encounters. I might only do the last... or I might only do one of the Hollow Knight encounters. I don't know. This is just going to end up being like a 5-minute long video, and I feel kind of bad about it. But that's just how my cookie crumbles, because I am a horrible YouTuber. Anyway, before we go do that, we have some ee-hee-hee-hees to go find. And by that, I mean, we head to the Tower of Love and fight the Collector. Which, I don't know why I did this. I think I just saw the words Tower of Love and thought, you know what, I want to know what the hell's going on in there. Because that seems a little out of place. Just like how the Pleasure House was out of place. Which we'll go over that later, I promise. Unless I do that on my own time. I might not do that in the video. I'm pretty sure I do it in the video, but I might do that. Whatever, we'll find out later. Yeah, I don't fight the Collector. I'm really upset I don't have my first reactions to this because I'm pretty sure it's hysterical. But we beat him, and I don't think anything of note pops out of it. So back to Radiance. Like I said before, once I get the attack patterns down, it's not too bad. It's not the hardest fight in the world. It's fun, but it's not too hard. It's just the one attack that was really bothering me, and with the Shade Cloak now in my possession, that's less of a problem. That's not to say it's free, though. It still takes me quite a few attempts. I immediately feel the need to just cut myself off here, even though this was me from like 20 minutes ago at best. That's a lie. I'm pretty sure collectively, Hollow Knight and Radiance combined took me less than 15 tries to beat. What you're watching right now is the final try, and this is the 4th try after getting the Shade Cloak. So you got the 3 normal Hollow Knight fights, which the last one eventually beat the game, and then after that, I don't think I ever lost to the Hollow Knight again. And then I lost to Radiance maybe 6 times. So that's 9, and then this is 4. So this is like 13 attempts it took me to beat Radiance proper. And one of them was only because, one of the losses was only because I got the wrong ending. But although I would have lost that attempt, let's be honest with ourselves, would have been, you know what, never mind. I'm going to let this attempt play out because it's my first time beating it, even though I don't have commentary. I'm sure somebody wants to watch it play out. Whatever. But I don't think it was that hard. I think Nightmare King Grim would have been harder. I'm sure there's some other boss fight that would have been harder. Hell, fighting Moloch at the beginning of the game took way more attempts, although that was because I was very limited in what I could do. But also, that didn't last forever. But, I don't know. I'm not trying to sound disappointed in Radiance. I'm not. It was a spectacular fight. I think it was visually very appealing, and the editing is great. But I just don't think it's the hardest thing I've ever done in a video game. So I guess, in a way, I'm a little... I don't know. I think I'm just trying to, at the end of the day, say I'm a god gamer and that you should all bow down to me. I think if I were to give it a time frame value, Radiance and Hollow Knight combined took me under an hour to beat. Because, like I said, this video took maybe, I think it was like 2 hours, 12 minutes, this recording session was. And about an hour of that was just the Coliseum and like the Collector, and there was like 20 to 30 minutes where I was just running around the King's Edge or like the Kingdom's Edge for no goddamn good reason. I genuinely don't know why I was there. I don't feel like going around to look at it all. All I know is that I fought in one of the Grimkin flame Dudemabobbers for 10 Geo, which I think is a ripoff. But even though the Archipelago's over, I still wanted to experience one last thing in the game, and that was the Pleasure House, like I mentioned earlier. All I needed for that was one final simple key, which we got as soon as I did the collect and release, which was done automatically as soon as I beat Radiance, whatever. So I go to the Pleasure House, and what is the very first thing my brain decides to do? That's right. I Dreamnail the only NPC here, which means I don't know a goddamn thing about the Pleasure House.